I'm now joined by the UFC featherweight champion of the world, Alexander Volkanovski. I hope you're not rattled. I just watched your interview with Ariel Helwani. He's talking about eating well-done steaks with ketchup. That's enough to throw me for a day.
Yeah, mate, I couldn't believe that. I don't like hearing that. I'll be honest, I don't like seeing it and I don't like hearing it. But I'll accept it. I'll let it go.
If I owned a steak joint, I would have a no ketchup rule. Like, it wouldn't be available at the restaurant.
Yeah, I'll probably I'll be hearing you too. There's no way I'll put all that effort in a steak and let them just chuck ketchup on it.
I'm
In
with you.
saying that though, that's an Aussie thing, that's big in Australia. So I might be doing some Australians dirty by saying that. But I'm sorry. I know I love you all in Australia, but if I had a steak shop, you cannot put ketchup on my steak. I'll be honest with you.
All right, well, we'll take the flat white, but we'll let you keep the ketchup on the steak.
Yeah, that's it.
So big fight, obviously UFC 266 yourself, Brian Ortega. Are you tired of this guy already? I mean, you've been preparing for this is your second camp preparing for the guy. You had to hang out with him on the Ultimate Fighter. I'm sure that you haven't had an opponent that you've gotten sick of before a fight quite like this.
I wouldn't say I'm tired of him. Yeah, I want to hurry up and get in the cage with him. Maybe that's good. You know what I mean? I haven't had enough of him because I haven't got to put my hands on him yet. So let me just put my hands on him, and then I'll be done with him. So I'll go out there, I get the job done, defend this, bring him back home with me, and then I'll be like going, all right, I'm done with that part of it. But yeah, you're right. It has been a long process. Two camps for this guy, Ultimate Fighter. It's definitely a long process, but yeah, I just can't wait to get in there. I'm excited to get in there and have some fun.
Do you feel like you have enough of a sample size for him? He looked like a totally different fighter in his last fight against the Korean Zombie. He's with a new camp. He's going to be learning all these new tools. Do you almost throw all of that out the window and just focus on yourself for this fight, or do you look at that last fight and try to pick apart what he did against the Zombie?
Oh man, like, we obviously look at that and we're gonna find his more of his direction. You know what I mean? Like we think we know his direction of where how he's gonna go about the fight. But put it this way, this is gonna be a complete different fight to that fight because I'm not Zombie. You know what I mean? Zombie's a great fighter, but he let Ortega do his thing, and that's just I'm not gonna let him do that. So it's just as simple as that. So Ortega's gonna be fighting my fight. He's gonna be under the pump, under a bit of pressure, and he's not gonna be comfortable. I guarantee you.
It's funny. I hear you say this in a lot of the different interviews you've been doing, and that's kind of Zombie's MO is to walk forward and to be aggressive. But in that fight, like you said, he was kind of standing there. Was that surprising to you?
Yeah, man, he would stay at a range and just well, look, don't get me wrong, Ortega had great range, but uh, you know, Zombie just didn't have any answers for him. He literally would just walk forward flat-footed, do one step forward at a time, stand flat-footed, and not move at all here and there, which was pretty surprisingly. But it was definitely a type of fight that I'm not going to fight. Anyone who knows the game knows that what Ortega did to Zombie is definitely not going to happen with me. It's going to be a complete different fight. You're going to see me just obviously have him worrying about what I'm doing. He's going to be, yeah, again, as I say, he fights my fight. That's just how I roll. Everyone fights my fight.
Now, everybody considered Jose Aldo to be the greatest featherweight of all time, and then Max Holloway beat him twice, and then he entered that conversation for the greatest featherweight of all time. You beat Aldo, and now you've beaten Holloway twice in a row. Do you think that you're in that conversation, and how many fans, if you were to put a percentage on it, believe you're the greatest featherweight of all time?
Oh, mate, obviously it's still in talks. You're going to get a lot of people saying that, a lot of people throwing it out there. But again, it's more than just taking out guys. You know what I mean? Like, you look at Aldo and he was defending his belt for how many years? How many times he defended his belt? You know what I mean? You go into these fights, you know what I mean? Like, this is a crazy sport. Preparation. There's going to be times you're going to go for injuries. There's going to be days where for some reason you don't show up. To be champion that long is pretty incredible. So you got to understand that. But obviously, I've took both of the goats in the division, as they say, out. But again, like it's more than just taking them out. I want to defend the belt, but we're not far away. We're definitely not far away. We're already in the talks. Go out there and really set a statement this weekend. That's going to get thrown out even more. And then, it won't be long after that till you are the goat of the featherweight division. And then, you're pound for pound, you're moving up in division, trying to take belts in other divisions, get that number one pound for pound ranking, all that type of stuff. So, that's sky's the limit. You know what I mean? I just keep moving forward. I'm going to knock off each goal as we go.
Do you think it's a lack of highlight reel finishes? I mean, you look at Israel Adesanya, who you train with sometimes in City Kickboxing, and all of the wide array of finishes that he has and what he does in the cage. It's hard to finish guys like Jose Aldo and Max Holloway. I mean, let's get down to it. It's not an easy task. Do you think that plays into it at all when people look at your career?
Oh, maybe on a casual point of view, maybe, standpoint. Maybe that's how they look at it. Anyone that knows the game, like you just mentioned, you're taking out guys like Max Holloway and Aldo. You know what I mean? Aldo 3 rounds isn't an easy task. You know what I mean? So he's still looking great. You know what I mean? So, but again, like Max Holloway obviously being durable and all that, but that does definitely play a factor in the casuals' eyes. But but anyone that knows the game to go out there and dominate these guys, you know what I mean, like and to beat these guys, at their own game is pretty impressive, and people know that. But going out there with Ortega, you know what I mean. I'll be honest, I want that. We do want these highlight reel finishes. We want the finish, you know what I mean? Winning right now is not enough. Obviously, we're still going to be calculated. We're not going to be silly in there and risk everything just to get that finish. But we're going to we're obviously going to be taking extra risks, and we're going to take advantage of the holes that we see while we're fighting.
Yeah, you mentioned pound for pound. I think it's around the corner for you in terms of people talking about it. You remember Henan Barrow when he had like 23 wins in a row. You're on that same trajectory. The last time you lost was in your first year of fighting professionally. It's been such a long time, and you've sustained such excellence. I think that kind of talk has to be around the corner, especially with the win over Ortega.
Yeah, man. Definitely, 100%. Again, you look at the resume as well. Not only the win streak, even that loss, obviously being in a welterweight division. Things like that early in my career. So what? I think this is going to be a 25 win streak with this one. I think, but yeah, that's pretty incredible. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that definitely puts you right up there.
How has this pandemic changed the way that you've trained and also your outlook on life? I mean, the restrictions in Australia are a lot different than a lot of other countries in the world. Is there something that you take away from it that has been positive for you in that regard?
Maybe drive. The sacrifice that we're all making, and even the wife and the family, and obviously they're struggling. So me going out there and defending this belt, bringing that belt back to them, has a whole nother meaning. You know what I mean? A whole nother level of a meaning to me. So that's it. Definitely, yeah, more drive. It's definitely rough. Obviously, camp was different, but I mean, we did great. My team, coaches, Joe did a great job of getting the bubble and making sure we had good training partners and a good schedule. So that was okay. But again, there was a lot of sacrifices, and then obviously the wife being so supportive of letting me rest and recovering and all that type of stuff. While she's homeschooling, looking after the kids and cleaning the house and all that type of stuff, it's I that doesn't go unnoticed for me. I'm not a selfish dude. Like it's hard for me to sit there recovering while my wife's busting her ass, looking after the kids. So this has a whole other meaning of sacrifices and what it means to take this belt back home.
I want to ask you about the Ultimate Fighter. Interesting experience for you. I'm sure one that you really enjoyed. There was a time where you had lost, I think it was 3 or 4 fights in a row, and frustrations were getting very high. What was the turning point? Because right from there, you turned the show right around. And I mean, hey, look at the results. The winners from the show were both Team Volk guys.
Yeah, man, it's yeah, it was, obviously a slow start, but I mean it's crazy how you do it. Obviously, you don't know who. Like I had like only a couple of days to pick the teams, and not only that, like the first 4 fights was in a week. So you know what I mean. So we only like pretty much the guys that were fighting had to wake up straight away. So you didn't have much time with the guys, and it would have been rough for them to fight on a week's notice anyway. And then with coaches you never trained with, training partners you've never met with, and all that. So as soon as we started, obviously molding as a team and having that team feel, and obviously the sort of schedule we had, you start to see the success start happening for us. The more time our team spent with us, the more successful we were. The more time they were with Ortega, the more the less the worse it went for them. But look, obviously at the end of the day, we can't take full credit for that. The boys obviously. It's them going out there doing their thing. We're just trying to make them best prepared for their fights. But I mean, it was a cool experience.
Well, Brian Battle in particular, who won the show in the middleweight division, he just seemed like a real sponge. Like he just seemed when you and your team were coaching him, he was picking things up really quickly. Did you get that sense from him as well? And do you think that he's got a bright future because of that?
Oh man, he's definitely got a bright future. So obviously in the evaluation and that we didn't, you don't get to see too much. You don't know too much about the guys. So I wouldn't say like it's not like we made him this terrific fighter. Just we end up noticing how good he was through more sessions we trained with him. Don't get me wrong, he's a sponge. The little things that we would teach and all that, you would just pick it up like that. But you started to notice all these other little traits and tools that he already had anyway. and then which was good for us to be like, oh yeah, these are good tools that we could use in game planning and all that type of stuff. So again, he was still pretty much the same fighter, but the more we knew about him, the more we could help in preparation for the fights. That makes
Well,
sense. But
I
yeah, he's
want to.
definitely got a good future ahead of him.
Well, I want to refer to you as coach now that we're talking about the Ultimate Fighter. Well, Coach Volkanovski and Champion Volkanovski, always appreciate your time. Thank you for this, and best of luck this weekend against Brian Ortega. Should be one great fight.
No worries, mate. It will be. This belt ain't going nowhere, though. No, hey, he's going to sit with me for a long time. Look how beautiful that thing looks, eh?